There have been, reports of these shadow men. Maybe some of you who follow us on Facebook already have heard these stories, but they appear generally. Hello, and welcome to Coffee with the Dead. I'm your host, Para Ann, founder of Spirits Wake Paranormal, and it's been quite a while since we broadcasted, so there might be some glitches, which it looks like so far we're good. There's a live chat at the bottom of the screen. You can scroll down and click on the chat room to join us. You can leave any questions or comments that you have there, and they will get brought up in the show. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the myths and the truths of snowmen, seeing as there is a blizzard happening right now. There are actually not that many paranormal links to snowmen that I've found. If you know of any, like I said, jump in the chat and let me know, or you can contact me at paraannhaunts@gmail.com, PARAANNE haunts@gmail.com. Or you can not find us on Facebook. You go facebook.com, Coffee with the Dead, or you can find us on there under Spirits Wake. We have a call-in number tonight also for those of you who maybe don't want to go in the chat but have something you want to share with us. That number is 929-477-1953. And you just follow those instructions there. I think they just want you to press 1 to join the chat. So these snowmen, I was looking a little bit into it. The most interesting thing, I guess, is that it's not a new thing, really. We think of snowmen as like a Hallmark tradition, or, these things that maybe came about in the 1900s, the more, I guess, to the history of the world, modern times. But really, it dates all the way back to 1380. And one of the very first photographs ever taken in 1860 or 1880, perhaps, actually has a snowman in it. Look, not the very first photograph ever, but one of the very first. And it's still preserved today. And it's actually in a museum. And it just goes to show that that's really not such a, unique tradition that we thought we had. There's a man who wrote a book called The History of the Snowman, and he addresses he some of the more worldly traditions, and it's how this started in Switzerland even. Reader's Digest says that it's a historical benchmark for the world, not just for America. And so nothing more to it other than kids wanting to, just recreate what they see, people. Okay, disconnected. Like I said, first time back in over a year, so those technical errors, these glitches, are to be expected, so bear with me. And those of you who are still listening, thanks for staying. So snowmen, yeah, we think of such a silly tradition as making, snowmen and whatnot to be an American thing, but really it started, in Switzerland, not even here. But that's sort of, what got me wondering. I mean, is there more to this? There's very little documentation, but the documentation that was found dates all the way back, as I said earlier, to the 1300s. And it was made in manuscript. There was a rough drawing of a snowman-like figure, a very long text depicting the crucifixion of Christ. So why would there be a snowman? Or maybe what was to, the founder of snowman, why was that there along such a benchmark period in history? Why would that be in that manuscript? It's something, we think of it as something unrelated. So could there have been an actual figure in history that, represented the modern day snowman, but maybe had a lot more to do with things than we realize? Maybe was flesh and bone? Was this figure to represent something more mythical, more, maybe paranormal? I don't really see why a snowman figure, had he really been meant to have been made of snow and ice and all that, really, why that would be in relation to the crucifixion of Christ, unless it's not what it appears to be. So again, those of you who are in the chat, leave your questions and comments. Give me your opinions on that. And those of you who are just listening but maybe not chatting, feel free to call in. We got 929-477-1953. And I believe the prompt there will just ask you to hit 1 to be dialed into the show. Another interesting thing about it says in an article, it says the miracle of 6 weeks. Okay. Another disconnect. So we'll have to get that worked out for the next show. I'm not quite sure exactly when it disconnected me, but at any rate, those of you who are in chat, feel free to let me know what was the last thing you heard being discussed. That'll help me pick back up. So I was just getting into talking about more of the now I guess the evil side, let's say, of snowmen, or more likely referred to as the Abominable Snowman or the Yeti. I was talking a lot about, before I got cut off, I'm not sure exactly when that was, like I said, but I was also talking a lot about when, these snowmen are depicted as pieces of artwork. And here Michelangelo is even being commissioned to, make great pieces of art in the courtyard of the mansion and all. But yeah, there's a snowman drawn in manuscripts depicting Christ's, crucifixion. So maybe that's, wasn't really, a snowman. Maybe it was like a flesh and bone person or a representation of something other than a snowman that happens to have that same shape. Much sense given the history of snowmen having to do with such fun times and, creative things, that it would be next to such a horrible event in history, especially in a illuminated manuscript. So brief recap of what I was talking about before I got disconnected again. Now, the other side to this as I was just starting to get into, are the Abominable Snowmen, or, better known as Yetis. We have about as much proof of their existence as maybe we do of Bigfoot. They're thought to be fairly closely linked, almost the same creature minus the extreme different climates that they live in. There was even, was it the guy from Ghost Hunters, or, oh no, see, something I didn't look up beforehand. But maybe like 5 or so years ago, one of the guys who does a paranormal television show, like the Sci-Fi Channel. So it had to have been Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventurers. But he actually found a footprint in the mountains and claimed that it was a Yeti footprint. Of course, he's not the first guy to do that, but maybe one of the more trusted guys, seeing as he is already in the paranormal field. But that was about as far as they got. With Yetis, they're, we get blurry pictures and, stories here and there, but not exactly as often as we do with the Bigfoot. And, there aren't really as many, people dressing up in costumes to try to fake a Yeti appearance. So, what do you think? Is that just because of the cold climate, or is it because maybe there's something to the Yeti's existence that it's just not worth faking? Maybe the Yeti is a real creature, and so there's just no point to faking him. Not necessarily evil. I kind of opened this conversation by saying I was going into the evil end of snowmen, but, if the Yeti exists, he's an animal, right? He's not a monster or evil, really. But definitely probably not friendly to humans, I would assume. And, I mean, can you even imagine? It's, like something from the Ice Age existing. It'd be like a real live snowman, basically. Based on, where they live, and, they're all white, But those are all maybe things better suited for a cryptozoologist to be talking about. Here on Coffee with the Dead, we tend to theorize these strange stories that we hear and, debate if they could be tied back into the paranormal. So those of you who are in chat, feel free, continue discussing amongst yourselves what you think. And for those of you not in chat who maybe want to call in, our number is 929-477-1953. Just call in and give me your opinion there. Be something paranormal linked to the possible existence of a Yeti, or is this strictly just a cryptozoological topic? There have been, reports of these shadow men. Maybe some of you who follow us on Facebook already have heard these stories, but they appear generally in blizzard-like conditions, which is just like tonight. And they have glowing red eyes, and they're seen coming up out of big snowdrifts, usually. And they're watchers. They'll just surround your house. They don't really interact with you, but they're just more there for a scare factor, and in a sense that makes you wonder, is there really even anyone out there? Anything really going on, or is this all in my head? But they, besides the glowing red eyes, they also appear to be made out of the snow, like they just come out of it, or just appear. It could be a flat piece of land, and suddenly there's this mob of something, with glowing eyes, and they move slowly, no footprints, no traces of them being there. And they just watch you and surround your house until they, eventually they just disappear. So, know anyone who has had this experience, but there are quite a few stories floating around out there about these sort of creatures from the snow, shadow figures. Not like your shadow men or your shadow people, more like they just look like a shadow inside of snow and move around your house. Those are actually snowmen, and over time, that story has kind of morphed into our happy, round, Frosty the Snowman type figures. Now, have any of you ever heard of these stories of these, snow creatures that surround your house? If so, I'd like to hear from you. Feel free, like I said again, follow us on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com, Coffee with the Dead, or Spirits Wake. You can email us, paraannhaunts@gmail.com, PARAANNE haunts@gmail.com. You can drop us a line now. We have a few minutes left. 929-477-1953. Or, we're always around, like I said. We do a variety of things. So if you're, listening to this as a podcast, you're listening to us on iTunes, and maybe you don't have a question right now, but you think of something later on or in a couple of days, reach out. We're here. You don't always have to get a hold of us, live while we broadcast. Drop us a message on Facebook. Find us on Twitter @SpiritsWake. And you can send us a direct message there. Lots of ways to get a hold of us. We're pretty accessible. Also, as part of Spirits Wake, we offer all free investigation, free paranormal counseling. We do sometimes, on a case-by-case basis, we'll do a free tarot reading or angel card reading, depending on exactly what information it is you're seeking. Those tarot readings are one question, one card pull. So, it's not like yes, no with tarot, but we just pull one card for you since we offer it for free. So you'll get, hopefully get pointed in the right direction for whatever it is that you're seeking. And we also offer energy readings. Mostly those will be done in person, and a variety of paranormal counseling and advising services, which if you do need anything like that, it's best if you email us instead of, don't call into the show for things like that. Obviously, that's things that are best discussed offline. So again, I would like to hear your feelings about snowmen and Yeti and the good, the bad. You really think that it could have been a snowman that was drawn on those illuminated manuscripts depicting the crucifixion of Christ? Or is it more likely that maybe over time those manuscripts are just stained, or the ink is smudged, or who knows, right? There's no pictures. So I am going to try to broadcast regularly again. It's been well over a year. I think the last show was September 2014. And a lot's changed. And I'm going to try to get back in the swing of things. And hopefully for next week's show, we will not have these technical errors. But for those of you who listened, thanks for hanging in there. And those of you in the chat, thanks for, providing good conversation tonight. And if you have any ideas that you would like discussed here on the show, again, just email, Facebook, however you feel, get a hold of us and click the follow button here on the page so you get emails when we're going to be broadcasting. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, contact me directly. You're going to be contacting Para Ann through Coffee with the Dead. It's best to reach me there through Facebook. Just drop a inbox message and we'll talk and hopefully be able to get you booked on the show. So until next time, remember, the veil is thin.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Coffee with the Dead. I'm your host, Para Ann, founder of Spirits Wake Paranormal, an investigation group that's been running for a little over 20 years now. We do free home investigations as well as investigations for businesses. If you're interested in investigation, just contact us. You can reach us at paraannhaunts@gmail.com, PARAANNE haunts@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. We're there at facebook.com/spiritswakeparanormal or facebook.com/coffeewiththedead. We offer a variety of services outside of just paranormal investigations. We do free angel card and tarot card readings. The angel card readings are a 1-question, 1-card pull, and the tarot card readings are a 1-question, 3-card pull. If you have any questions about those or are interested in receiving a reading, again, just contact us through email or one of the Facebook pages. We're also on Twitter. You can find us there at Spirits Wake. And Coffee with the Dead is now on iTunes. So you can subscribe and download the episodes as they come out each week. Take them with you and listen to them.
And yeah, it's pretty simple. It updates right after the show airs, automatically uploads. The call-in number for tonight is 929-477-1953. And then you just hit 1 at the prompt to be dialed into the show if you have any questions or comments you'd like to share. And those of you listening through the website, remember there is a chat room at the bottom of the page under the episode description where you can participate and ask your questions and give your comments there. Tonight's episode is going to discuss road trips and the magic behind road trips, or maybe questioning if there is any magic to road trips as far as the destination that we end up when we're driving, and we don't really plan where we're going, but we end up somewhere great in the end. So again, if you have any input on that, or if you do take a lot of road trips, feel free to call in or join us in chat. I'm logged in on Facebook too, but probably won't be checking that too often, but you can message me there too. I'm on ParaAnn, so that's facebook.com, ParaAnn. So just a little background on road trips, from my personal experience anyways. I've always found them as, something to sort of, make traveling more convenient and be able to get out and see what I want to see instead of having an itinerary planned by taking an airplane or any other mode of transportation. And it's just nice to be able to take my time and get to wherever I'm going on my own, and always taking the scenic routes, trying to stay off highways as much as possible. So I guess, combined with starting Spirits Wake, that kind of led to taking more adventurous road trips. That, and as I started investigating, finding, urban exploring to be pretty fun too. So I kind of got to wondering, these places that I end up driving, just get in the car, drive, no destination, not really, sure where I'm going to end up or how long I'm going to be driving for, if I'm going to have to, pull over for the night and get a hotel room or take a nap in the car, not really knowing what to expect, but being prepared for everything. I just kind of got to wondering, why am I drawn to such a, I guess, risky sort of activity? There's no plan, there's no guarantee that I'm even gonna, find anything all that interesting. But yet I always end up finding a new road or a new site on a road that I've been on a million times before. There's just something there that I didn't notice the last time. So I just kind of feel like maybe we're guided almost, or there's some sort of intuition there for a greater reason to be taking these road trips and not having a clue where we're going, but feeling like this is what we have to be doing, and following all of the turns and stops and everything just on instinct alone, following that gut feeling. I just kind of started to wonder if maybe, there's not a higher force at hand. Maybe a lesson from a past life, or even, something speaking to me as in a spirit guide, or my guardian angels, or, just something influencing there. Back in Irish folklore, there's actually talk that fairies exist who guide travelers and point them in the right direction when they're lost. That these fairy folk will be able to tell when a traveler is stressed and come to them, showing them the path that they should take home. Or stories of, travelers walking through the woods and not being able to see the stars to help them navigate, and suddenly, the sky clears up and they can find, the stars that point them home. And they always tend to link it back to some form of a fairy. Either if it's a nature fairy or a nymph of some sort. The Irish folklore seems to be very thick with stories of fae folk. So, there's even that to consider for us here in America who, go out traveling and not knowing what we're doing, and suddenly we're lost because we decided to go on this crazy adventure, and we find ourselves, a few hours from home all of a sudden and not recognizing the roads. But then, right when we feel like maybe we're going to have to call for help, we see that sign for the highway that'll take us straight home. So, and there may even be some truth to that. That's not quite all folklore. Maybe there are fairies. If any of you have experienced things like that, please call in or join us here in chat. That number is 929-477-1953, and just hit 1 at the prompt to be dialed in. Another interesting point to be made is that, again, in Irish folklore, there are thought to be not so good fairies. They use little dots, pretty much, is how they appear, of light, and they're called Willow Wisps. Now, I've heard a lot of talk of Willow Wisps as being friendly, playful, like childlike sprites, but that's not really how the stories are written. The stories are written as these Willow Wisps appearing to lead travelers astray and often into harm. Sometimes they lead them on a bad path where they can't get off of it. Like, these lights hypnotize the traveler, and they either will end up dying from being lost on this path for so long, or some of the darker stories talk about these Willow Wisps dragging travelers into fairy circles and enchanting them with music and lore and dancing and food until they're trapped in the fairy kingdom forever. So, not all fairies are like Twinkle Bell and the friendly little colorful winged ladies that we know of them as so commonly. But there are some who do harm too. Like, there's brownies who are known to sneak into your house at night and steal things or hide things and play pranks on animals. So they're not always also friendly. That's another thing to take into consideration. If you are a believer, and you're taking these road trips and, you follow your instinct and you end up just totally turned about backwards and lost, maybe there is a not so friendly force involved. So I guess the question that comes up now is, how do you tell if you're being led by another force, a spiritual force or a higher force, or, even, something negative, or if you really just got lost. How do you know the difference between human error and maybe, something else interfering? If you have any answers on that, feel free to chime in, give us a call, or join us in chat. I think the only way that you can tell is how the trip ends up. Do you end up finding your way out, or are you so lost that you end up having to call for help, either like from a friend or, from an emergency service? If you can find your way out of it, I would always say, okay, maybe you're just silly and got yourself lost. But if you end up getting lost and it leads to you finding something really cool and really interesting, then maybe you're being guided there for a reason. But if you just get lost and it's no good and you just feel like you have to keep pushing on, and the farther you push on, the farther lost you get, it's just not getting any better. That, I would say, definitely, probably something not so friendly is there, guiding you towards something dangerous. Now, for those spiritual folks out there who are listening, and those who do believe in the possibility of being led either astray or to something good during road trips by a higher power or just something paranormal, what sorts of tools do you take with you that protect you during road trips? Do you maybe feel the need to cleanse yourself and the car? Do you carry certain crystals with you? I know I used to have a bag of lemongrass, and I think there was some lavender in it, and it was in a little sack, just a little pouch sack thing that I tied around the ignition of my car. And besides making the car smell really good, it was meant for protection while traveling, to help avoid accidents and, just to keep all positive energy in the car and keep me safe while I was traveling. Now, this was, because I was on the road for 3 hours a day traveling to and from a job. And, I was also doing a lot of investigating at the time. So I felt I needed to protect the vehicle, that I would be spending the majority of my time in. So is there anything else besides maybe a little satchel of herbs or saying a simple chant that you've used during road trips or traveling that you feel has actually protected you? Wherein, without using it, do you feel you would have maybe gotten into some trouble? The number to call in is 929-477-1953. And you just hit 1 at the prompt to be dialed in. Or you can come into chat. It's just at the bottom of the episode for those of you who are listening on the website. Another quick story about Willow Wisps that I wanted to share is actually not so much road trip related, but there's a local cemetery in a nearby town here that I decided to check out because there's a lot of local stories about, like, even the caretaker's house being used to practice necromancy, and people swore that they had been inside of the house and saw a giant pentagram drawn on the basement floor, and candles and exaggerated stories. You know, I really doubt anyone had ever been in that house, and the caretaker's house is always on cemetery property, so, or like really nearby, so I'm sure the kids just, you know, talked it up. But I went to this graveyard one night to investigate it, and there was a lot of strange stuff that actually I couldn't explain. I saw shadow figures, and the strangest thing I saw were the whole section of trees was just like twinkling. Like it looked like kind of like fireflies, but they were like blinking much quicker, and they were bright white. It was like mini flashlights going off more so than the way that firefly light appears. And there was just like thousands of these lights, like just covering the treetops. And mind you, it was a full moon that night, so I could, you know, pretty much see the trees. And these little lights were just everywhere, just covering the treetops. And I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to find out what was going on. Like, I thought maybe, because I saw this from far away at first, so I thought, well, maybe it's like stars or something, and the wind is blowing, and, you know, as the leaves move, I can see the stars going in and out from behind the leaves, and it's making it look like twinkling, but it's nothing more than stars. So I walked closer, and, you know, it didn't change. The lights are still just as they were, just twinkling away. And finally got up to the tree line, and still, like, no different. It was just twinkling. The trees were just full of these lights, and it still looked like little mini flashlights going off. Like, they didn't change in color or anything as I got closer. And I was looking around in this tree line, and through an opening in the trees, I could see this woman with like long blonde wavy hair. She had like a wreath around her head, and it looked like it was made out of just leaves and flowers. There was a cauldron. It was this very detailed scene, and she was doing something at the cauldron, not leaning over it, but she was sitting next to it, just doing something. I couldn't tell what was in her hands or, you know, what was around her. I could tell she was sitting on dirt, but that was about it. And she looked up at me, and I could just see her hands like motioning towards me, like she was smiling. It was like she wanted me to come over closer to her. But I didn't. I just kind of stood there frozen, wondering, like, oh, what is going on? Like, what is she doing there? How is this happening? You know, I was more intrigued, but I wasn't actually following her. So one of the people that I was with doing the investigation with finally snapped me out of it. They got my attention, asking me, like, you know, why are you just staring at the trees? You know, we need to go over here now. What's going on? They didn't see this scene that I saw. They just saw me standing in front of some trees, like frozen. So they snapped me out of it. And that woman's image stayed in my head all night. And for the next 2 nights after that, I would have an reoccurring dream of her calling me back to that spot in the woods and motioning me over towards her with her hands. So I went back to the graveyard during the daylight this time, and I looked at that spot on the tree line where I had been standing, and I remembered how far into the trees I had walked. So I went there, went in just as far, and I was standing on the edge of a fairly steep cliff. So if I had continued to walk any farther, I would have fallen over that cliff. So that led me to do quite a bit of research. I mean, it was just air. I mean, there was no ground for this woman to have been sitting on with her cauldron and everything. It was just a drop-off, into, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't see the bottom. It was a pretty steep cliff that I had been standing on. So that's what led me to do a lot of research and come across the concept of willow wisps. And I believe that's what was there that night, were willow wisps. They're known to lead travelers off their paths and oftentimes into danger. And that certainly would have been a pretty dangerous situation if I had kept walking. So I do think that there is something to that legend, or to those stories of willow wisps or not so friendly fairies. So give me your opinions. Have any of you experienced a negative relationship with any otherwise known to be friendly spirits, or have you ever been traveling and felt that something led you off path on purpose? And how did you get out of it? Was it through magic, or was it through someone else being there to snap you out of things? Let me know. Our number is 929-477-1953, and you just hit 1 to be dialed into the show. Or, as you all know by now, the chat's up and running, and you can also get me on Facebook. I'm there under Para Ann. So, I guess going back to road trips a little bit, I have been on many trips where there's places that I end up at that I feel like I've already been here, or, oh, I know what this place is. It's like a deja vu feeling, or the feeling of, oh, I was here, but a very long time ago, almost in a past life, and I can almost remember the place looking different. I can almost remember the place looking the way it did before, it was run down and falling apart. I don't know exactly if that's being, led to a place by any sort of spirit, but I do think that's the following your gut instinct and the going with intuition part of road trips, where we're drawn to being these crazy risk-taking road trippers because of who we were in a past life, or to prepare us for a future life. There's something inside of us that knows something that can't be brought to our conscious because we're not that far evolved yet as humans. Because, there's, times when I've invited friends who don't go on road trips a lot to come with me when I'm going to go out exploring, and, I just want to go find something cool and abandoned and take some pictures. And they have no idea what to do. They think oh, we're going to get in the car and we're going to go to an exact location, and there's no plan. They're just completely thrown off. Or they, have no idea where to go when we get to a location, to, a patch of woods, and I say, okay, we're just going to walk now. They don't see a clear path. They can't even comprehend it. Because I think that's because that's not part of their inner self. That's not part of who they were. It's not their past life. They don't have the kind of internal guidance some like us who take a lot of road trips do. I just think that sometimes we want to push ourselves to find things that we're drawn to, but we don't take into account exactly what we're be getting ourselves into. So I just want to caution anyone who is hearing this broadcast decides, oh, yeah, I'm going to go road tripping. I'm going to be all about this. So I want to find, something now. I caution anyone who's listening to always remember to be safe and always make sure somebody at least knows that you're going out and about. And your cell phone on you, even if it's not turned on, and just to save battery, in case you do have an emergency where you need to call somebody. And if you can, always bring somebody with you. It's always safer than going by yourself. And don't go where you're not allowed. Like, a lot of times our intuition will draw us to certain places, and we get there, we find out that it's not exactly public property, or it's not exactly abandoned or what we were expecting to find. So just always remember what the laws are, and it's always best to check places out in the daylight first. Well, in all cases, really, you never want to be exploring in the middle of the night. That's just standard safety, unless you are going to be inside somewhere and, you're allowed to be there. You schedule something ahead of time. But, yeah, always like places out in the daylight, and then do the whole finding out who owns the land and making sure you're going to be there. I know I haven't really mentioned this story in a while, but anytime it comes to exploring, always remember the little girl that was talked about on an episode of Ghost Hunters who went off in the woods. She watched an episode of some other, investigation show and thought she could go be a paranormal investigator. So she went out exploring in woods near her house where she knew there was an abandoned building, and I think it was like a cabin, a small house. But anyway, she went in there, and it turned out that someone indeed actually lived there. And when she came in, the guy shot her in the head, killed her, and she was like 12 years old. So always just remember safety. And if you're guided somewhere for some unknown reason, try not to get too excited at first, because you never really know where you're being drawn to or exactly why. So always just remember that. I know I talk about doing a lot of exploring and poking around and investigating on your own on this show, but remember, we at Spirits Wake always have permission before we go somewhere. No trespassing, and no stupid stuff, basically. Always just remember safety, and always know your laws before you go out wandering through places. If you have any final questions or comments, the number again is 929-477-1953, or you can join us in the chat, or I'm still on Facebook, but I'm probably not really going to be checking that too much tonight. So just hit me up in the chat or dial in. Remember, if you dial in, you have to hit 1 at the prompt there to be connected. So, final comments. Coffee with the Dead is currently looking for interviews, either to be a guest on your show, or for you to come be a guest here on our show. We're looking for paranormal investigators, authors, UFO experts, Bigfoot hunters, anyone who is experienced in the realm of the unknown. So you can contact us at haunts@gmail.com, PARAANNE, haunts@gmail.com, and just explain who you are and why you feel you would make a good guest, or what it is that you want to talk about on your show, and we can go from there and hopefully get something scheduled. We're going to be trying to air twice a week now. We're going to be doing a Friday show and a Sunday show. Usually the Friday show is going to be at 9 p.m. and we'll do a Sunday show at 8 p.m. So again, if you're listening live, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, which is on the episode page. And if you're listening to this as a download in the archives or through iTunes, just go over to blogtalkradio.com/coffeewiththedead. And there's a subscribe button there on our main page. So you'll be able to be notified through email of new episodes as they become available. And if you subscribe to us on iTunes, then you will automatically have new episodes downloaded there aired. And you can go back through our archives and listen to any previously broadcasted shows as well. So that about sums it up for us tonight. If you have any suggestions for you to hear on the show, just contact us again through email. Or if there's anything that you thought maybe didn't get covered in this episode that you would like to hear more about, also contact us. Until next time, remember, the veil is thin. Right.
Blog Talk Radio.
Right. So, hello again. This is Coffee with the Dead. I am your host, Ann. Again, I am doing this episode on Facebook Live for the first time, and there were a lot of technical difficulties in the beginning. And for those of you on Facebook Live, let me just tell you that you are hearing a lot of things repeated because it took me nearly 15 minutes to actually get Blog Talk up and working, since it had been about a year or more, maybe closer to 2 years since my last episode. All right, so we're in. So those of you on Facebook Live, we really got things rolling now. There'll be a lot less stuttering, a lot less confusion, because I am on Blog Talk. I got it good. So, again, the call-in number is 657-383-1164. And I will be posting a link to the episode on Facebook, the Coffee with the Dead website, or also you can get that link on Facebook.com Para-Ann, and it'll be on Twitter. So it'll be kind of everywhere. So I was getting ready to lead into a kind of a reflection on 2016, even 2015, since again, it just had been so long since I had aired last. So I'm actually taking this entire night to talk about what had happened more so than what is happening or what will happen. I don't know if many of you listening had listened to us much before, but our most recent episode, which was 11 months ago, so really isn't all that recent, was on the magic of road trips. And that episode, do you remember any of you who maybe are listening in who also listened to us, you know, a million years ago when we actually aired regularly?
some of the highlights from that episode. Call in, let me know. I want to kind of talk about that. And do you remember the Eastern State Penitentiary interview? That was really interesting. I was actually surprised to get those guys on, but they were on and they talked a lot about the haunted house that they do every year, and that is one of the best haunted houses that I've actually ever been to. It's actually capable of scaring me at some points. I mean, I remember there was one point where a guy came out into the courtyard area, I guess. Yeah, and he slid a good couple of feet across the courtyard and scooped me up, picked me up over his shoulders, and dragged me off and locked me in a cage where there was another man there who stamped numbers on my hand of some sort. I have no idea what they were used for. Well, there was no point to them, obviously, because it didn't come back up in the haunt. But it was enough to freak me out at first, enough to kind of make me wonder, why I actually had to sign a waiver before going in. So if any of you have had similar experiences at haunted houses or actually been to Eastern State, I want to hear from you. Call in. Okay, the number is 657-383-1164. Oh, what was another good? Oh, we had Jason's Woods on. Geez, that was only 2 years ago. Yeah, I say that only like it wasn't that long ago, but 2 years actually was a long time ago, but I remember that interview very, very well. Jason's Woods is a local haunt, local to Harford County, Maryland, which is where Spirits Wake is based out of. So it was really, really fantastic to be able to have one of the local haunts come on and share some information with us about, what they do and, kind of help them also promote and get some extra people out. So we had another really, really great interview on when was this one? Oh, we had Spirit Factivity come on, and that was another paranormal investigation group, and they just also had a lot of good points about the way we kind of do things similarly to each other, the way we do things differently. And again, these are all going to be archived episodes that you'll be able to go in and see. If you go to blogtalkradio.com/Coffee with the Dead. Another good one we had. I'm just going through the list here, and just like I said, I was kind of rehashing on the year before, and what all we've done here on Coffee with the Dead over the course of our history of airing. And it's not like one of our typical episodes, there is no interviews planned for tonight, and I'm not gonna have much of the getting into my usual kinds of discussions tonight. I just want to rehash things, kind of let everyone know who hasn't listened before what we have done, give them a feel for what to expect in following the show, and just kind of, get you guys interested again, get you going first day of the new year. I did see a couple of you have joined on Facebook Live, so that's good. I really didn't expect to get too many people tuned in tonight, but the couple who are in, I definitely appreciate it. There is a chat too set up over on Blog Talk. If if you guys would rather do that than stare at me staring into a microphone, feel free. Oh, 2 years ago. I guess a lot of these are going to be 2 years because we did take about a year off from airing. We interviewed the Red Vein Army from Richmond, Virginia. That is a great group. Seriously, they do a horror book club, and they meet monthly. And I think they do investigations, but they just opened a haunted house. So that will be coming up towards the end of this year. We will have them on and be talking to them about what their journey was in setting up a haunted house for the first time, and the planning and how many years in the works this project has been for them. As obviously we'll also be talking about, what all the good scares are that you can expect if you do make it to the Richmond area. And so that will be coming up October, yeah. maybe before they open, so maybe end of September timeframe. Yeah, the chat room, you guys, it is up and running, just so you know. I didn't know, I said earlier there were a ton of technical difficulties, but I think I'm slowly getting them worked out. Who remembers Bob Frank coming on the show and talking about his experiences? He has had near-death experiences and written books about those near-death experiences. Who remembers that episode ever airing? I mean, it's been 2 years. It's been a while, but I remember him. And just move my camera a little bit. I think it's probably would be better if you guys didn't. I'm just staring at my closet for those of you who are watching on Facebook. Just kind of scoot that over. So, every episode is going to be on Facebook Live now, so that's why I was talking about a camera for those of you who are only listening through Blog Talk. So yeah, when Bob Frank came on and he talked about his near-death experiences, it was very, very interesting. I remember him talking about the white light that everybody sees. And he also talked about just how clearly he could remember everything that happened. It wasn't like it wasn't like a fuzzy memory for him. It was really like something had actually happened for real. Like, it was more than just some experience. It was like this event, and he was conscious for it, and he really, really remembered actually dying and being on the hospital table and the doctors trying to resuscitate him. Like, it was interesting because sometimes you hear people talk about near-death experiences and they talk about it like it was a lucid dream. But not this guy, not Bob. He talked about it like he lived it, like he lived his own death. But he also did talk a lot about the out-of-body experience part of it that we hear so often when near-death experiences are talked about. Kind of the floating above your body and seeing yourself on the operating table kind of thing. So it was a different kind of near-death experience, I guess, than what we're used to hearing. So that episode is definitely worth re-listening to. And so we have a question here. What can we look forward to in Valentine Haunts this year? The Poe Museum will be hosting Poe's birthday celebration January 21st. Oh, yeah, the Poe Museum in Richmond. Going back to Richmond, speaking of the Red Vein Army. Yeah, they do a thing every year. So does Baltimore. On the anniversary of Poe's death, there's the legend of a man in black, who is seen to put cognac on Poe's grave, but he hasn't been seen the past couple of years, so nobody knows what happened to him, if he was a real person or if he, was just an apparition of sorts. But if he was an apparition, then why would he stop showing up? I think he was a real guy and has just since moved on, but who knows? Also, there is a haunted house in, I wish I could remember the name now. Let me look this up really, really super quick. But they do there's a haunted house, I think, in New Jersey that will open up, and it's actually one of those shock houses. Oh yeah, there is the 13th floor in Denver, but the one I was actually looking for is in Philadelphia. There's a shock house, and they do things Valentine's Day, and they do things St. Patrick's Day. And they do a Thanksgiving haunt, too. Like, they really keep themselves open year-round pretty well. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it right now, actually, but if you follow me on Facebook regularly, then I will definitely post the answer there. There's actually quite a few year-round haunted houses when I go to actually, find the name. So, at least we can always get scared year-round. No, I did. Then I stopped doing interviews for a while as I go back through the year here. Yeah. I'm actually was going to look for the date of one that I remember very, very well. I think it was one of my first interviews I did with a man named Joshua Van Hoven. He talked about his family history with vampires and what it was like growing up that way. Yeah, I just found the date, actually. It's called Bloodlines, an interview with Joshua, and that was 3 years ago. So if you're scrolling through and looking for a really, really good episode to archive and listen to, Bloodlines is a really, really great episode to check out, while I also still try to find that haunted house there. So again, if there are any questions, or if you have any experiences yourself that you want to share, feel free to call in. We are at 657-383-1164, and you just will follow the prompt there to connect. I think you have to hit 1 if you want to join the show. And we will also be doing another Facebook Live through the Paranormal page to show off all of our equipment and to really give you guys the rundown of how we do our investigations. So that'll be coming up soon. Make sure you go and give that page a like, so you will be in the loop there and be able to bookmark our events as they come up. It was weird, actually, when we were doing the pre-show today. We were doing on YouTube Live. I think I mentioned earlier we're going to be doing the pre-show and the post-shows on YouTube Live. It was so strange because we were doing the audio test, and I get a message from downstairs where we're being monitored, saying oh, are you playing music? I'm like, clearly not if I'm trying to do an audio broadcast, right? So I had to run downstairs and try to figure out what was going on. It sounded like some audio loop, and it's kind of funny, maybe some spirits of New Year's Day here to mess with me. What? So, Bill, you said you were looking for the link on Coffee with the Dead's Facebook page. The link for what? Maybe I can help you out there. See, we got for those of you again who are just listening to the Blog Talk or the iTunes broadcast, we have some questions coming in from Facebook Live. Oh, for the link for this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Bill. I think I mentioned earlier that we were going to be broadcasting, doing the Facebook Live event through Coffee with the Dead, their Facebook page. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Oh, you weren't? Well, yeah, same thing with Spirits Wake, because they're actually sub-pages of this page, of the Para Ann Facebook page. We can't broadcast live through our pages. We can only broadcast live through our main account page. So it doesn't quite work out as well as we thought it would, with being able to stick the Coffee with the Dead broadcasts on the Coffee with the Dead page. Instead we have to do everything through my own page, through Para Ann's page, which, I mean, whatever. But we did originally have the thought to keep it more separated, more, split up better, but unfortunately Facebook hasn't quite figured out how to allow that to happen yet. So, we were also going to be given a equipment demonstration. I think I mentioned earlier that we're going to do that not through Coffee with the Dead. We're going to keep that just to Spirits Wake. So I think that's where I was what I was kind of getting at before when I said not everything is going to be always through Coffee with the Dead. But again, we do have a call-in number, so when we do broadcast, for those who don't want to or just can't come in and see the video feed and type your questions in, there is always our call-in number, which is 657-383-1164. Now, unfortunately, nobody watching us on our video streams will be able to hear the person on the other line. But if you go back and check out the broadcast on Blog Talk Radio or iTunes, then you'll be able to hear both ends of the conversation. So, when we do get our call-ins, when we do have our interviews, our interviews actually will be played out loud, obviously, so that both ends can hear. But when we do have our listeners call in and whatnot, that might be a little weird for a little while, but we'll get it all figured out as we go here, as we get back into the new year. Which is why I just called this episode Welcome Back. I wasn't going to get too technical with anything. I wasn't going to share too much of my usual spooky news. I was sort of just gonna, this is for those of you who haven't listened before, to get a feel for what we have done. In case anyone is really wondering why we just keep talking about old episodes and things like that. Yeah, that question from Michelle is still, that haunted house is still bugging me. I think it's in New Jersey, though. I remember looking at it because I was debating if I was going to go up there last year. It was something, let's see. Something. Oh, was it New York City? Blood Manor. See? All right, Michelle, if you are still listening, Blood Manor is doing a Valentine's weekend haunt this year. It's called Bloody Valentine's Weekend. It's going to be starting February 10th, and it'll end February 12th. That is so funny, because I could have sworn it was in New Jersey. So there's your answer. Well, as far as what I was thinking, I'm sure there are others, but as far as ones that are actually over here on the East Coast, because, these guys are the ones who do the St. Patrick's Day one and the Thanksgiving Day one too. Now that I'm on their site, check them out. So if you guys are interested, that's bloodmanor.com, all one word. Yeah, first one. Well, I don't know. First one that popped up on search. I don't know. Not the first time I tried looking. It wasn't. Your search terms must be better than mine. Oh well. So, we'll be doing the post show on YouTube Live, which I think I've already said, but you guys who are watching me now or listening to me now can follow me over to YouTube directly after broadcast. That will be just a chat-based setup, and also with my broadcast there. I'm looking again for. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. I remember we had a really, really, really good talk about spirit animals, and that led to a 2-part episode on spirit art. So I don't know. I guess I can open the conversation up to that tonight. I don't know how many of you listening have had any contact with your spirit guides or are familiar with the term, but they are always around us, not always someone who has lived and died, sometimes just pure energy that is conscious and able to interact. Sometimes, described as like a guardian angel or, something along those lines. But there's several ways to get in touch with them if you haven't, either through meditation or just letting yourself be open to the idea that they exist enough that you kind of start to notice things happening. Kind of like when people say, oh, just have faith. Well, that leads into, if your mind is open enough to allow your faith to keep you going, then maybe there's some higher power out there watching out over you, which then opens the door up to the possibility of spirit guides and guardian angels and things along those lines. Now, spirit art comes from all of that in the sense of once you are connected to your guides, your guardians, some people feel inspired, or some people feel like during their meditations they're actually taken over, not like possession, but like subconsciously taken over by their guides who are nearby and can actually produce artwork from them, or through their help. can help them overcome roadblocks, writer's block, and get through life and kind of move on through a part of life where they were just stuck. It's done similarly to like automatic writing, where you are in a meditation and you have a pencil and paper in front of you, and you choose to allow spirit to have complete control. People have produced incredible pieces of art through that method, and sometimes they've even received messages. Now, when it's in the form of text and not so much drawing, not so much of an image, that's when it becomes defined as automatic writing. That's oftentimes where like people start when they first like learn to recognize who their guides are, and it can be pretty insightful sometimes. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes our guides just aren't helpful because we're not really at a point in our life where we need help like we think that we do, in the way that we like in the way that we think we need help. We're more so just like whining and looking for some divine force to come in and do things for us. So that's when our guides will be more in the mood to make jokes with us and be less helpful, which unfortunately turns a lot of people off to spirit guide meditation altogether. But I mean, there's a lot of really great stories out there that are actually of spirit guides coming in and helping people and giving them strong insight. So those are some good episodes to listen to. Again, for those of you who maybe this is your first night tuning in and you want to get a feel more for what we have done and what you can expect, the spirit art episode, there are actually 2 of those episodes up, and also I think it may just be called Spirit Guides episode. We also did one on animal spirits, which was super fun. Not only because I am a super fan of all animals and just love animals, but because it's just fascinating. Our animals, our animals, as in our pets. Sometimes they stick around and people report hearing them or, feeling an animal walk by their leg. Even after moving out of the house that they last had any animal at, now, having moved out, living somewhere that they don't have any pets and they feel, something brushed by their leg. And like if it's your pet, you kind of like, I don't know, for those of you who own animals, like I'm sure you can relate here, but if your dog or cat brushes by your leg, you know what that feels like versus like a friend's dog or cat brushing by your leg. Like, you can just sort of tell, I guess, if it's your animal. And, there's a lot of reports of stuff like that happening. Like, I remember I had a friend years ago. I actually haven't seen her in a while, but she never had any pets, I don't believe, from the time that I met her. Now, she had a cat when she was very young, but during the years that I knew her, she didn't have any pets around. But I would always see a cat around, and this was over a couple of different homes that she lived in, all the way to across cities, across the state even. And it would look like a black cat, but I mean, when you see things out of the corner of your eye, a lot of times they do appear as a shadow. So to say if it's a black cat or not, I don't know. It was like the shadow cat thing. And I didn't say anything to her for a while, several times that I saw the cat until it was after she had moved, and I was still seeing the cat. I saw a cat jump up onto the sofa next to her, and I jumped. I think is what actually made the conversation come up, because it was just like, you know, we're just sitting there having a conversation, and then out of nowhere, I like am startled about something, right? And she didn't notice anything, but I said, hey, there's a cat on the couch. And clearly there was no cat, but she just started laughing at me and said, yeah, everybody says that. So not only humans are capable of returning or sticking with us, I guess. So Michelle says, meet any animal or pet mediums. I have met some of those, mostly on Oranum, which was a website that I was working on for a while, doing tarot card readings on. There were pet psychics on that website who some claimed to be able to connect with even your living animal, which it was sort of strange. And it was almost like Reiki, like heal them if the animal wasn't feeling well, and like connect to the animal's energy and get them feeling better. So I never have heard of anyone claiming the ability to connect with a living animal via long distance, especially anywhere else besides Uranum. Now, in person, I have heard of quite a few people, actually. Like when I was taking my Reiki training, I was told this form of healing can be used on animals as well as on people. And I've since learned that there are quite a few people who actually will give their pets Reiki when they aren't feeling good. And that goes along with also just comforting your pet too. I think animals are just as conscious as humans are when it comes to knowing if they're loved or not, and you know, they have the ability to be happy and sad, have the whole range of emotions. So I think as long as, you know, the owner is there, or whatever human that animal has a bond with is there when they're not feeling good, I think that always helps. But I've definitely experienced positive results while using Reiki on humans. Even on myself, there's something about it. You can feel the heat. Now, like it's a no-touch form of healing. You know, you keep your hands a few inches from the person's body that you're giving the treatment to, but noticed extremely good results with that as far as like pain management. No like magic healing. Like it's not like, oh, I have the flu, give me Reiki, and oh, now I don't have the flu. It's not quite like that. It's more like, oh, like I feel off and out of it, and my energy's down. Then you go get Reiki, and you're like all back in line. Like it kind of like realigns your chakras, so to speak, and gets you back in the groove of things. So we have just a few minutes left in tonight's show. Then I'll go over to YouTube for the post-show wrap-up. If there are any final questions, or again, we're also looking for interviews. If anyone is interested in being interviewed at any point, give us a call. 657-383-1164 is our number. Again, if you have any last-minute questions here before we wrap up for the night, or again, you can contact me directly, ParaAnn at spiritswake.com. Same name on Facebook, ParaAnn, but you'll put haunts at the end of that for my full web address. It'd be facebook.com/ParaAnnHaunts. You can go facebook.com Coffee with the Dead. Same thing with Spirits Wake, facebook.com Spirits Wake. That is the investigation group. So when we get back out and start checking places out, we'll be posting all of our updates and summaries on that page. We'll be doing an equipment overview on a Facebook Live session, which will be hosted here through ParaAnn's Facebook page. I'm talking about myself in the third person suddenly, but yeah. And you can also get us on Twitter. That's Cwtd Official on Twitter. So it's at Cwtd Official. It's just Coffee with the Dead abbreviated. Or you can get Spirits Wake at Spirits Wake. You can get me, ParaAnn, personally, at Real ParaAnn, because just ParaAnn was taken already. Somebody has my name. Actually, that Twitter account actually is like, there's hardly any posts there. It's like not even very well managed, but oh well, that's besides the point. So I'm at Real ParaAnn there. And I believe that is all of the ways in the whole wide world to get a hold of me, or Coffee with the Dead, or Spirits Wake, which you'll all get responses from me for that, any of those, because I sort of take part in all of them, and we kind of all fall under the umbrella of Spirits Wake. So Spirits Wake hosts Coffee with the Dead, and ParaAnn, myself, represents both of those, and both those groups, or whatever you want to call them. So, do you really? So Bill is saying that he can hear my cat talking, which is amusing and kind of, I don't know, some other word. My cat is, I have 6 cats, Bill, just so you know. You're hearing one of them, named Gidget, who is perpetually in heat and is going to be getting spayed very shortly. And she is several rooms away. Not even here in the studio office area with me at all. She is just that loud, and my microphone is just that good to pick her up. Yeah. Let's see. Michelle, you said, the new Ouija board. Yeah, we'll talk about that post-show where everyone can see it, because I know you guys who are just listening through Blog Talk or iTunes will have absolutely no idea what I am showing you, since you have no visual end to things. But I got that Ouija board, original William Fold board, 1920s, I think is the date. I originally had thought that it was a early, like, 1908 board, but it's not. It's actually from 1920s. I think it might be like actual just 1920. I don't know for sure, but the date on the planchette gave it away right away when I was doing the unboxing video. For those of you who didn't see the unboxing video, that is on YouTube. And that is also archived from my Facebook Live videos on ParaAnn. That I got a super cool, super old Ouija board off eBay, and that's the one that Michelle's talking about. I got it even with like the planchette box and the board box itself. really, really excited about that. I collect Ouija boards. I don't use Ouija boards, but I have a collection of them, and I plan to get glass shadow boxes so I can see the fronts and backs of the boards still, and mount everything in there and hang it up around the walls of the office and everything. That's my plan, at least. I still have to unpack my boxes from moving into my new office. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that on the post show, which will be on the Spirits Wake YouTube channel. You can follow that if you just look up Spirits Wake Paranormal, or if you look up Para Ann, the YouTube channel will come up if you want to subscribe to that. That's where we'll do our pre-show and post-show broadcasts. Now, Bill, you have typed something that I don't know the meaning of. What does ICYDK mean? I mean, I can kind of guess, but I'm not too familiar with all of the abbreviations, like IDK is I don't know, or something. I don't know a lot of that text lingo. So we will be back on the air again next Sunday. That will be January 7th. No, I'm thinking like Saturday. It'll be Sunday, January 8th. We'll be back on the air at 8 p.m. Eastern. Pre-show starts at 7, and post-show starts at 9. And we air on Eastern time. Just to give everyone a reminder on that. And again, if you want to be interviewed on the show, or if you have any topics or questions that you would like discussed during the show, please feel free to contact me, paraann@spiritswake.com. It's actually, email is the best, but also you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, and you can contact me through Coffee with the Dead on Facebook or Twitter, and same with Spirits Wake. You can find us in those places. Okay, and so Michelle has just filled me in that ICYDK stands for In Case You Didn't Know. And I didn't know, Bill, that you are actually a member of Dover Paratech. So I assume that you're another fellow investigator. Dover, Delaware, I would assume, maybe. I think that's the only Dover that I know of, at least. And again, we are just wrapping up the last few minutes of tonight's broadcast. If you would like to call in, 657-383-1164 is our call-in number. And we also have a chat running. Just for those of you who are listening to us directly through Blog Talk or iTunes. Okay, and Teresa Kraft just told me that's Dover, Pennsylvania. That is not Delaware, it's Pennsylvania. That's close. That's close to me, Bill. I'm down here in Harford County in Maryland. And that will do it for us tonight. Now, the post show will be over YouTube Live. Just look for the Spirits Wake channel, or look me up directly by my name, Para Ann. And until next week, remember, the veil is thin.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Coffee with the Dead. Once again, as I said in my last episode, which was about a year ago,
it's been a while, once again, but I noticed something. We're actually up to season 6. Blog Talk allows you to record seasons now, and I realized this show started in 2012. So actually, despite the last few years of taking a break here and there, I've been going consistently for 6 years. I guess you could say maybe more like 4 years consistent until I actually took a break. But here I am. So this is a quick episode. I may not really, for those of you who haven't listened, this may not be the best first impression, as I don't have anything too spooky to talk about today, but more so just a hello and just to let everyone know that I am back. I do plan to start uploading episodes again weekly, and I'm testing a few things out quality-wise and whatnot, so we'll see how that goes. Previously, I had a few more fancy things set up, based on, obviously feedback and whatnot. So, speaking of, I still have Coffee with the Dead Facebook page up and running, and there's even a group now under the same name, Coffee with the Dead. So if you have Facebook, you can look us up there. And if you don't, you can always send us an email, spiritswake@hotmail.com. So that's spirits, SPIRITS, wake, WAKE, at hotmail.com. And we keep that all as one word, as we did with the paranormal investigation group, which is still together. Occasionally we go out and about and do small local things, and nothing on a big scale. It's just a shame to have to charge for investigations. I don't like to do that. And if I'm going to travel far, or out of state rather, for an investigation, I would like to be compensated for at least for my gas. No, I don't like to ask that. I think it should be a free service. So if you're looking to have an investigation done, if you think your home or business is haunted, just check out your local fellows. They're, rather than branching out so much, pretty much nowadays it seems you can find a paranormal investigation group in most any town, or at least a few towns over. They're not too far apart nowadays, it seems, I guess, thanks to the television shows and all of that. Much unlike when I first started broadcasting, I think, I still talked about how good Ghost Hunters was, the television show and things like that, but it's all quite a bit different now. So, to that, right, if you want to leave feedback, like I said, go to the Facebook page, or you can email me. So what am I doing back? Well, I think there's a time that the show needed its rest, so I gave it its rest, and now I think it's time for it to come back. So here it is. Here I am. Doing my best. I don't quite have a setup, a formal studio as I once did when I was, really, really into, getting interviews and broadcasting regularly. With this being my first show back for the year, and hopefully, it will keep going. But that, again, is based on your feedback. So if you hear this, please just let me know, hey, I remember you, and please keep going, and, I'll work harder. But it's all based on listener feedback. If I'm not getting listener feedback, well, I'm just talking to myself. So likely I will lose motivation. But let me know if this audio quality works even. I'm kind of just broadcasting through my phone here, and it's a little strange. Usually I would have, the headphones and a microphone set up. So we'll see. But there's a lot more involved in that setup than just simply calling in and broadcasting through Blog Talk as I'm doing now. So if it's worth it, it's worth it. If not, well, I tried, and I'll just keep using my phone for short little episodes. So, moving along with my little introduction and just saying hello again. It is October. It's October 20th, actually, and already almost the end of the year, getting to that point. And it is the best time of the year. It is my favorite time of the year, actually. It is October, Halloween time. So, you know what I'm doing. I've been going to haunted houses, of course. And I have been just doing all the fall things, you know, being outside as much as I can because it's just beautiful out here. So I broadcast out of Maryland, and unfortunately we're known for getting some of the least number of sunny days by comparison to most other areas of the country. But, you know, this October has been very sunny, so I've been quite happy with the cool weather and sunny enough out to go do, you know, basic festivals and apple picking, pumpkin picking and things during the daytime, but still good enough temperature. It's not freezing, but, you know, it's definitely not summer anymore, so we have that fall feel in the air. Puts me right in the mood for going to the haunted houses. And I will let you know that, sidebar here, I did just get the chat up. So there is still a chat room. We still have access to that. So for those of you who may be tuning back in at a later date, there is a live chat room. So you can also give me feedback in the chat room. And that is excellent. It just started working and kind of distracted me from my main point, but it works and it is there. So Halloween, of course, is what I was talking about. And let's see, my first haunt that I went to was a brand new one, actually, to me. They've been up for a couple of years. They are known as one of Baltimore's best haunted houses, and it surprised me. It was small. It just looking up the name of it, but oh, you know what? It was called the Nevermoor haunt. Yeah, I don't even have to look that up. So it was called the Nevermoor. It was really good. It was like Victorian themed, and they also had contortionists and other, you know, sideshow types of people out in the courtyard area to entertain us while we waited in line. And this one, actually, they had a few different beers on tap also to keep you toasty while you waited. So we got in when they opened, so, you know, there weren't too many visitors there at the time, but it's actually in a old but still functioning outdoor mall area of the Baltimore City. So Old Town Mall is the area for those of you who might be in the area. And it looks like a lot of the businesses might be shut down. You know, there's some boarded up windows and things, but don't let that deceive you. We asked one of the parking attendants, and indeed, it's fully functioning. There's a business, there's a child care center there, there's a few different markets, all kinds of things, whatever you can think of, lots of local market sellers and whatever. So it may be worth a visit during the daytime too, basically, is my long-winded point there. But at night, now they're transforming it into this Nevermoor haunt, and it's pretty cool. So it's Victorian themed, like I was saying. So the building is over 100 years old, and while you wait in line, if you ask one of the actors or actresses there, they, you know, if they feel like it, you know, they'll tell you the tale of the building in their own way, of course, which is wonderful. You have a zombie or a post-mortem creature of some form or another giving you the background of the building that you're about to go through. And then there was a lovely little ghoul there playing the piano. She had a nice out-of-tune song, of course. And then we went in, and it was short but sweet. It got to the point. Wasn't too much of a focus on being scary. They had a lot of personality. The scenes were very well done, very detailed. It was like a transformation. Like, you really felt like you were out in a back alley, or that you were in a seamstress's shop, or wherever the scene was supposed to take you. They did fantastic. It was very detailed and very, very convincing. So they even had a few funny parts. Like I was saying, it wasn't all about let's be super scary, So a lot of it also was about let's just have fun. Now, maybe that was because, the group I was with weren't necessarily screaming and trying to run away as much as we were laughing and commenting on how well done the scenes were. Maybe the actors and actresses kind of changed their game plan when we came through a bit and had some fun with us. Nobody under 4 feet tall was allowed through. And I thought that was a very nice way of saying no children, especially since there was alcohol being served. I suppose they also could have said nobody under 21, but they did card each person who asked for any alcohol. And so it wasn't necessarily easy, despite it being dark and whatnot. You still typical bar rules applied. So I guess maybe the height requirement was for something to do with going through the scenes or something along those lines. I don't know. I couldn't quite figure out exactly, if the height requirement, really was polite about saying, oh, no children, or if there really was something about being so short. Because, you could be an adult. You could be any age, and be under 4 feet tall. There's some short people out there. So I don't know, but I kind of got a giggle out of that and thought overall that meant no children. But I didn't see any either. Again, we were there pretty early. But they did good. They had great makeup. Like I said, the scenes were done very detailed. It reminded me of, theater. If you ever worked in theater and did set building, it kind of reminded me of more advanced level of set building done. And the actors did not break character, even though we giggled at them and things. So that was good. And so far, that is the only haunt that I have gotten to. It's a shame. It is how it is. But I do plan to go to more. I always try to go to Penhurst Asylum. I always try to go to Eastern State Penitentiary. If you go back in the archives of the show, you can see a couple years ago, I actually had some of the folks in charge of that haunt at Eastern State on the show for an interview. I was getting a lot of good interviews that year. I may or may not go back to interviewing. So again, if you want to come on, if you're involved in the paranormal in some way and you want to come on and talk about yourself and what you do, I will give you an interview. We can set that up. Just send me an email. Or, you can get at me through Facebook, but for some folks, email might be a bit easier. So what else do we have planned? Well, the season is wrapping up real fast. It's just getting away from me. But I have been just hanging out. I have added to my Ouija board collection. So now I'm up to about 16 boards. I actually got an original William Fold wooden Ouija board from early 1900s, like 1908 time frame. So there is an unboxing of that on YouTube. I don't have many videos up. I haven't done too much YouTube stuff, but if you look me up there, I just go by, let's see, I think we're just Spirits Wake on YouTube. And there's like 3 videos up. There's that unboxing video, and then there's the video from when I went, when I did the Facebook Live episode. And I'm not too sure what else is up there. Those are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. But they're there if you want to check them out. Like I said, I think we're just Spirits Wake on YouTube. Haven't really decided what to do with that channel. I don't have a whole lot of visual, visual kind of, I don't record investigations. I don't, I haven't done a live broadcast or anything like that with video, the one and only years and years ago. So I don't really know what use I have for YouTube, but it's there, and those couple of videos are there for those interested. And yeah, so we're back. I'm back. It is just me now. I am, like I said, just playing around with these audio configurations. If I'm going to actually go all out and get the premium membership package, which will allow me to use, a microphone plugged into my computer rather than calling in from my cell phone. I don't know. That looks like one of the only differences. I can still host a chat, and I still have a call-in number for guests who want to call in. Available, for every episode. So I don't know really. I guess I'll go back and listen and see if the audio quality here seems like it needs to be upgraded or not. If it does, then I guess that's worth paying for. But we'll see. Once again, if you need to contact me, I think I've been through that plenty of times, but I'll be posting another episode hopefully next week. I'll try to keep it regular. I'll try to keep it on Saturdays. Schedules are kind of, I don't know why schedules exist really, but I guess they help you guys for finding the show and keeping up with it. So just like I said, I just need some feedback since this is the first broadcast, in a year, once again. First broadcast, and just kind of wondering what your feels are, if you'd still listen, and go back and check out the archived episodes. Really give you a feel for how a regular show goes. And base your feedback on that so much more so than this. This is just me putting out the feelers, and of course I had a little Halloween for you. Hopefully by next week I'll be able to tell you all about Penhurst or perhaps another haunt that I go to. So that is it for this week. Thanks so much if you came back and listened. And just get at me. Find the Facebook group. It's Coffee with the Dead. Groups.facebook.com/Coffee with the Dead is the group. And the Facebook page is the same. So the Facebook page is just Coffee with the Dead. Facebook.com, /Coffee with the Dead. Okay, so thanks so much for listening on this very rough first broadcast welcoming the show back. And remember, the veil is thin.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Coffee with the Dead. I am your host, as always, Tara Ann. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2018 Fear Fest. It's actually the first I've gone out and done under my name, under Tara Ann. Usually, when I would get an invite out to do anything, it would be, as the full investigation group, Spirits Wake, or as the show. We were actually asked, it's been a while now, about 5 years, more than 5 years, but right around there, we were actually asked to go up to around Philly and actually do a podcast of a live music awards type thing. So this is the first event that I went out as Tara Ann too, and it was good. This was down in Washington, D.C., the 2018 Fear Festival. And if you hear my cat in the background, that's okay, because cats are awesome. But that's what that noise is, if you do hear anything. So the 2018 Fear Festival was in Washington, D.C. It was kind of cool, actually pretty cool. It was a live performance. There was dancing and music and all kinds of good stuff. There were a couple different shows that were performed. So this was right next to the Atlas Theater, for those who are familiar. And the first show, I think it was like a fear in motion kind of theme. So a lot of dancing, a lot of fun stuff there. And then at the end of the night, there was the quote unquote, the main event called Ominous. And that was, along the same lines, but a little more serious, a little less family friendly, but still, I guess it would have been okay for older kids, is what they were suggesting there, not to bring the toddlers out for the show. But from what I saw, there were a lot of kids. So I don't know, maybe that was more marketing than anything, trying to just get people in. They did say they were sold out. So, I mean, it worked, whatever they did, to get people in. So there were 3 vendors altogether, and I was with the Talking Board Historical Society, and they are kind of, spread out all over. Talking boards, so Ouija Board, Witch Board, right? We all know. We've heard me talk about my collection and my interest with those many times before. So I was working with them, and we had some antique boards and 2 other older boards for sale. So the antique boards that we had just for display, I mean, one was from 1908, really, really old. And the 2 that were for sale, which still are for sale, actually. If you're interested, you can go to the Talking Board Historical Society's Facebook or webpage and send them a message, letting them know that you're interested in a board, and they can send you a picture of what's available and whatnot. But one was from 1955, and the other was from the 60s, and it was really cute. We had, at the moment, at least, as far as I see it, when two little girls came up, and the one little girl, she was really with it. She was really well spoken, really mature, and really confident that she was totally going to grow up to be famous. And I just thought it was adorable because, we're in a theater and, she's just in the mood of it all and saying she's going to grow up and, be famous from theater also. And she was certain of it. It's not like she was saying, when I grow up, I want to be a famous theater performer. No, she said, when I see you the next time, you'll ask for my autograph because I'll be famous. It was like that. So, but she had another little girl with her, and the other little girl was real quiet, real shy. So she was, the confident girl, was, explaining the table to the shy one, and they ended up actually playing the board from the 1960s. It was really cute. The little girl, the quiet one, she would speak in Spanish and ask for her grandfather. And then the confident girl would kind of, get a little impatient that nothing happened immediately. So she would just start asking, hey, is anyone here? Or no, she said, are there any ghosts here? Just said it like that. So it was really cute. And seeing them interact with the board like that was definitely the highlight of my night. The quiet girl's mom came to the table at one point also, and she got on the Ouija board too, and she was again speaking in Spanish, asking for her relatives. So that was neat. It was just those three who, I guess, were brave enough, you might say, to use the Ouija board, especially in public. But it was so cute. And the best part, too, about the little girls, they actually got the planchette moving. So, of course, it was the classic, are you moving it? No, you're moving it. No, I'm not moving it. You're moving it, kind of back and forth. And it just got me really, really excited to see that happening. And, the little girls were using the board. They weren't afraid of it. And the mom didn't yell at them for using it. It went well, and it was great. It made a nice little moment. So next to us, we had a guy selling, again, these are all nonprofits, okay? So Talking Board Historical Society is a nonprofit thing that we made, went right back to the society and goes into all the work that those guys do to preserve the boards and, help get the history out and educate people on Ouija boards. So none of what they made last Saturday went home with them. All that nonprofit goes right back into the society. So next to them was another guy selling horror books, and I think from the looks of it, it was like local authors, but he also had some Stephen King stuff. But it was a mix. But I did see some stuff that looked like it could have been local publications as well. And then on the left, so that the book guy was on the right, we were in the middle. On the left was this really neat ceramics seller. He made everything himself, his own original designs. Like for example, he did one of Groot, the talking tree thing from Guardians of the Galaxy. He had one that the front was like they all kind of look like tree stumps in a sense, but some of them were less tree stump ish, and but they all of them had different weird kind of creepy faces, and definitely went along with like the horror theme of the weekend. One in particular had a zipper on the back of its head, for example, so kind of like really twisted imagery like that. And there were little battery operated tea light candles inside of quite a few of them, so you could put a tea light candle in at home, or just use the battery operated candle. It's a lot safer. So the guy running the table, he also does these really amazing pumpkin carvings, super detailed faces, super like they're like 3D basically. It's not flat, so he just uses a big like a big carving knife and just goes at it. So he spent the evening working on that while the performances were going on and whatnot, and that was fun. That was a fun table, and we got some good conversation with them, and so that was my first event. I was just thinking, are there any more highlights from the night? But really, it was those two little girls were the best, and then seeing the guy do the live pumpkin carvings was fun. So that was my first event out. Like I said, may or may not be going to something else, which I won't talk about yet until it is confirmed. And in next month, in November, which actually is like in just a couple of days. It's crazy how fast October went by. So I will let you know if I do end up doing something else. So I'll have some heads up and be able to talk about it beforehand. So if anyone listening is able to make it, or make plans to attend this thing that is coming up, then you'll be able to. It might not happen too, so you might never hear about this again, but you might. So this mystery event, we'll keep you posted. Gosh, so it's crazy, right? Like Wednesday, so Wednesday is Halloween. It's just a couple of days away. I can't believe it. I have been slacking so bad this year, but I've been staying busy too. Okay, so I did the orchard. That was really fun, really like basic fall stuff. And then I did one haunted house. I did the Nevermoor haunt in Baltimore. And then it was the Fear Festival. And the first weekend I just didn't get out. So Kat is really distracting me. She is really hardcore trying to walk all over my keyboard, and I just have to keep moving her. I'm not kicking her out though, for those of you who think, oh, just close the door, don't let her in. Yeah, no, that's okay. I'll just deal with her. So I started a space there because I was dealing with her. But anyway, so I feel like I've been slacking, but when I just recapped it there, I spent 3 weekends doing stuff, right? Being busy. It just wasn't the typical going to haunted houses kind of thing that I normally do. So it was a little different. I did not actually get to Penhurst, which I swore I would do. I do still have one more weekend with them. They doing their blackout. I think that's this weekend, November 3rd. So we'll see. I have one last chance to redeem myself. We'll see though. I don't know. See what else is going on this week. Trying to keep it relatively quiet. Oh, hey, I am, by the way, looking for a new logo. And I'm looking also for new opening music. So if anybody is artistic and can, or creative rather, and has just a quick, maybe, 10-second, somewhere between 5 and 10-second kind of clip of music, send me an email or, just get at me on Facebook. Facebook's always easier for whatever stupid reason. Facebook's annoying, but it's also easy communication. Don't just send me a file though. Please just message me. Let's have some conversation first, and let me see, if I, think that the style rather that you have in mind is the same style that I would have in mind. I don't want no lyrics, no words, just the music. So if anybody out there is willing to donate some free music to the cause of making the show a little more interesting, that would be cool. And see, we got a couple minutes left, so let me go ahead. I'll get into it. We've talked about it before, but it always comes back up. The topic of haunted dolls. Gosh, so we've all probably seen them by now on eBay floating around, the great estate sales, right? That have so many haunted objects, everything, right? Rings, grandma's haunted sandwich bag with her spirit still in it, going for hundreds of dollars. Those jewelry boxes, clothes, and of course these baby dolls. I may have on this the ghost doll that I bought off eBay many moons ago. It was called a war baby. The woman that I bought it from told me it was from the World War I era. I don't really have a way to validate that. It was just literally as long as my index finger in total, and the actual doll is probably half that length. But it came in this look like handmade, knitted little blue bed, kind of sleeping bag, little little sack, for lack of a better word, for this little ceramic doll, I guess. It was not haunted. Nothing happened. The lady swore to me that she had things happen, that she would see a little boy ever since she got the war baby from a yard sale. Okay, so that's another place a lot of these, supposedly haunted items come from too, is yard sales. So I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. This goes along with all the cliches that I've heard. So I bought it. Yeah, nothing happened. The thing's kind of interesting, but I don't know. I put it in a shoebox and never gave it much of a thought after a couple months of having it out and experimenting with it, talking to it or putting it in different places around the house just to see if anything would happen. It's a horrible idea, honestly. Think about that. Buying a haunted object, it's stupid. Why do you want to bring energy into your house like that? Why do you want to risk a potential negative energy, or unhappy energy, which a lot of these haunted objects, especially the dolls, they have sad stories. And you see, like, the customer reviews, they're like, oh, yeah, Molly has a very peaceful demeanor, unless I don't come and play with her often enough, and then she gets rowdy. It's like, okay, this isn't your kid, and a doll can't really get rowdy. So if there's activity in your house that you think is linked to a doll, let's not name it Molly, for starters. Let's think about our choices in life that we've made in opening the door and playing with forces that we really don't understand or have any way of measuring. I mean, despite all the ghost hunting techniques, the EMF meters, the infrared cameras, night vision, this and that, whatever, it's still not proof, right? Else there'd be a much wider acceptance of hauntings and spirits and things like that. It's just one of those things that you kind of know the feeling when it happens, but talking about it is not necessarily the truth. It's not necessarily going to prove it to others, is what I mean. So these dolls, getting back on my mini rant here, just think about that for those who might be thinking about purchasing them or who have purchased them. It's kind of like, like opening a door. You're inviting energy in. So if your house is quiet, be thankful that it's quiet, right? I'm bringing this all up because I got a message on Facebook shortly after last week's episode, and this person was asking me about my opinion on haunted dolls, because of recently discovered intuitive abilities of their own. They're starting to realize they're an empath, and they're having these like visions during meditation, really intense stuff, which, I mean, that happens if you don't have a spiritual practice and then you begin one. It can do a lot to your own psyche, for, I said psyche, like, no, they're developing psychic abilities. Let me just say psyche, because that's the easiest term to come up with. But it does shift around your energies, and some things can happen, sure. So it makes sense. Now this person is now wondering, well, what about haunted objects? I'm starting to have these experiences. Maybe I could connect with lost souls and, help them. So let me buy these dolls and help. Okay, that makes sense. That's a logical, common path of reasoning that, people tend to go down. But don't, just don't, leave it alone. It's like, I don't know, it's like if you just barge into somebody else's life or something and just want to experience what they experienced, or like, it's like having your house broken into, in another sense of it. You're just intruding on that doll, like if there is even anything attached to it, like even like if, and I really don't believe that most of these dolls have anything attached to them to start with because of how popular it is and how many I see. It's like a trend. It's like a craft. Just find baby dolls that we don't want and say they're haunted so that we can get 10 times their value on eBay. That's how I look at it. On the off chance that there is something attached to this doll or any object for the matter, if they're being sold as a haunted object, no, that's silly. You're opening the door. It's really, and especially in this person's case, they're starting to develop their own awareness that they may be an empath and they're having these like deep visions through meditation. They're really vulnerable right now. So bringing any other variables into their practice is probably not healthy for their own spiritual development to start with, and for yours or anyone out there who's listening who may have had a similar experience or an interest in these dolls. It's just something to keep in mind. Just throwing it out there. I know I come across as like super opinionated. I mean, there can be positive experiences from it too, but I just personally, from my own experience and kind of my own, well, it is my opinion. So yeah, from my own opinion, just it's not good. Don't play with things that that could potentially harm us, and playing with haunted objects could potentially harm us, right? It's just like, I know I say I collect Ouija boards and I just went out over the weekend supporting the Talking Board Historical Society. That does not mean that I support using Ouija boards. That's opening a door too. It's all the same thing, okay? Like, I appreciate Ouija boards for the art, for the history. It's a very curious thing that we got into, started in Baltimore. It's very fascinating that such an kind of closeted idea of spirit communication became this mainstream toy. And this is all it is. It's a toy. And the baby doll baby dolls are meant to be played with too. So anyway, just be careful, especially since Halloween is coming up. Just be careful out there. Don't go. Use this story as a word of caution. Just be careful since Halloween is amongst us. Just don't go poking at open doors, and certainly don't go opening closed ones. I will be back next week as always, and you can send me an email at spiritswake@hotmail.com. Find me on Facebook, Coffee with the Dead. We have a group to ask to join, but most likely I will add you. And we also have the regular Coffee with the Dead Facebook page. Or you can find me my Para Ann page. So, plenty of ways to get a hold of me. I will be back next week. And remember, the veil is thin.